All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting spun up here and ready to go. How are we all doing today? All right. Getting our social posts out at this time, and we are spinning up here. Welcome everyone to weekend 5 of closed alpha testing. This is going to be session 3 of the weekend. You are joined by myself, Ryan, the creative director over here at Astardi Industries for Bellum, as well as Muskul, our community manager. Today we are playing some more Bellum. This is the 273 hotfix branch. We patched something in between last night and today, and we are going to essentially be watching 2 to 3 games again. Once again, these tests this weekend are focused around our player increase to 76 players, which is a substantial increase from 58 players. So let me get Epic Pen up. And with that, of course, there are going to be some issues, right? Some bugs that occur that we are definitely looking into, that have arisen because of the player count limits being tested, and so we have a lot of work cut out for us. But that being said, servers are still quite stable. Not that many client crashes at all, and I think we've only had 1 server crash over the course of the weekend. So things are very stable. There's just more optimization work to do with the added players that we are adding to the game, and so that's kind of what we're looking at as far as what we're testing this weekend. There's also some minor balance changes as far as what comes to medical and bandages being limited and the crit zones being added. But for the most part, that is the difference in this weekend's build. We can kind of talk about what's going on for the week of February as well. February is a big month for us, but we'll have a more formal video coming out about the plans regarding what we're going to be doing in February. But more than likely, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending how you're looking at it, we are going to be using that month to continue to optimize the experience, especially with the player count increase. There's just a lot of things that have come up that we really want to tackle before we continue adding more stuff into the game. So February is going to be optimization focused, with March being a big content month. So that's kind of the idea here. Just sharing you guys the status of the project and the plans for the project. Right now, however, we are playing AO1 Muskul. What teams do we have?
Just give me 1 second. I actually got kicked from the server.
For sure.
Let me just take a look real quick. What teams do we have? AO1. It does look like we have Ranger Regiment against. Looks like Al-Zalaam today. So yeah, just
Okay,
pretty
awesome.
standard
Let's
match
go
of
zoom over
Bellum.
here. So in blue today, we have Al-Zalaam. Okay, if we have Al-Zalaam in blue, it means we have in red over here, we have, I think it's Seder actually.
It might be Seder. Yeah, I look from afar.
Seder.
Yep, it is Seder.
Okay, so we have Seder versus Al-Zalaam on AO1, which is we don't actually see this layer get played too much. It kind of flips the layer on its head, and of course these are all going to be reworked in time, and adding in new AOs as well with time. But this is going to end up pushing the fight much further south than you've previously seen, because once again, Al-Zalaam is a guerrilla faction that is able to start on the map before conventional forces. If there's any questions on the difference between conventional and unconventional factions in Bellum, please let us know. But yeah, we're here to answer your questions, showcase the game. And yeah, once again, this is 76 player servers, which means there are 38 players on each team. And each team is rocking 4 line squads and a HQ element. So pretty cool stuff here.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that I mentioned that this layer, doesn't really get played too often. We don't really have that much, footage of these guys, fighting one another, especially in this terrain, right? So it's gonna be very interesting to showcase just, the difference in maneuver or just in gameplay from both elements, being as different as they are, and in this, unexplored terrain for the majority of the of the viewers here tonight.
Yeah, most definitely. As we can see here, it's going to be pushing this fight further down to the south here along these rolling hills. There is, some small buildings, outcroppings down here, but it's going to be interesting to see if Seder can push this fight further north. This is mainly where we see on the previous layer where a lot of the fight happened, just because the spawns are swapped, and so Al-Zalaam pushes this far up. So I am interested to see how this fight down here is going to go. But teams are moving out here now. It looks like Al-Zalaam has their main body shifting to the west or left tree line here, and a small contingent pushing down the center of the map, cutting through the center tree line. If we swing over to Seder, they're just now moving out now because they have they move in later to the AO because they are conventional force. It looks like they are rocking pretty heavy together, but that is of course mainly because this bridge is going to force them to cross together here. So it's going to look like contact's mainly going to happen once again in this forest here. It's going to be very interesting to see how this kind of develops and how far Seder is able to penetrate further into the zone, or if Al-Zalaam is actually going to be able to hold them off and cut them off pretty soon here. But these rolling hills do pose quite an interesting tactical challenge, right? There's a lot less cover out here. There is a lot of concealment with these fields as we get lower to the ground here, and these slopes do possess some sightline challenges and some room to maneuver across them, using them to obscure your lateral movement. But it is much different, as you can see, from all these buildings and hard cover that is located on the northern end of the map. School as well, also much further to the north on this layer, makes it so that, you know, it's pretty difficult to get over to this area for Seder. So going to be interesting to see how well they're going to be able to ball up and push in. I think that's pretty much what I'm expecting here, is for Seder to pretty much group up together and kind of just punch through as a single unified element northbound into this. So it's going to be quite a brawl here, and it's going to come down to if Al-Zalaam is able to withstand this brute force full shove down here, and or if they can just cut it off. But once again, these open fields on the side are going to make any kind of flanking maneuver difficult, and this road on the left always, you know, we always see this road pose a challenge. That linear danger area, just crossing it back and forth. If certain machine guns are set up in good areas watching these roads, it can be very difficult to cross or make any kind of flanking maneuver. So I would not be surprised if we see a main punch here through the forest. That being said, Mooskool, Seder does seem to be shifting to the right. Where do you think they're going?
Well, honestly, you know, I would like to see a different approach here from Seder. Taking advantages of those open fields and, you know, that large engagement distance that Seder is allowed to abuse just because of their, you know, their equipment. If I were to guess here, I would imagine that, you know, they're going to try to probably go for the long route, where once again, you know, we're seeing this fights over, you know, this open fields where they're trying to like lure them into the open instead of, you know, walking into what we can, you know, at this point in time assume that it's, you know, it's the exact place where Al-Zalaam wants to fight, right? You know, probably making an effort to like get them out of their comfort zone here and try to like push them to like, you know, go into them as opposed to going into them themselves. That's, you know, what I'm getting at just from maneuver here.
An excellent point. Like, as much as, you know, you and I might have expected Al-Zalaam to punch straight through, the beauty of Bellum and this game mode attrition that we're on right now, the beauty of it is that players have full control as a platoon to decide where they want to go, where they want to fight, and how they want to fight. And it does look like Seder acknowledges, you know, this forest, Al-Zalaam wants to get in close. Al-Zalaam wants to start knife fights. They want to penetrate the line. They want to get in between and intermix. They want to cause as much chaos as possible. If we look here, this forest has always favored Al-Zalaam for the most part, because it is so easy to just sneak around, get in between a conventional force, and cause issues. The amount of foliage that is available on the ground here makes finding and securing your line very difficult. It's very easy to lose your team in this forest, and thus it is very easy to get encircled. And so what it looks like is Seder acknowledging this, the platoon as one, right, highlighting the platoon teamwork here, is saying, hey, we're just not going to take that fight. We're going to avoid the battle in the forest, because the forest is bad for us, because we want to keep long to mid-range engagements. We want to maintain standoff. We want to utilize our HE in the form of our grenade launchers, our RPGs to the maximum effect. The PKM, we want that to shred at range. And we're going to actually just circumvent the forest. So very cool stuff to see here. They are moving to the right side of the map. And I have to say, from a casting perspective, Musical, I'm very happy seeing this, because you and I have seen so many battles in the forest.
Yeah.
It is nice to see the different parts of the map played. And it's cool to see that the player base has that control to make those decisions. And so here we see those guys shifting off.
And more interesting than that is that, and I'm gonna pivot off of this from a comment that I see on YouTube. What are you thinking about adding 67 player sessions? I know that's a joke, but now with 76 players, the advantage of it is that we have more manpower to really maneuver and lock down some areas completely from one another and really allow the teams to operate in a way that we haven't seen before, right? Because now we have those extra numbers, and now we have that extra those extra capabilities, those additional rifles. It just makes it so that we start seeing the terrain open up more. We start seeing those engagements even last more. From yesterday, we've seen some engagements that originally would already have taken like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, turn into like 30-minute long, 40-minute long engagements. Because the attrition level just raises considerably just because of those extra numbers, that it just brings up the area up even more than it was before. And it's going to be very interesting to see how Al-Zalaam specifically tries to punch holes into the Seder team, considering that now with those extra rifles they're able to lock down their positions even more than before.
Exactly. Yeah, that extra line squad really does change the feel of the experience. It gives Seder and conventional forces more strength to maintain their perimeter, to lock down their flanks. It gives Al-Zalaam another squad to work with as far as deception or hitting flanks or disrupting the enemy element or covering more ground. And right here we can see like reconnaissance, a very important part of Bellum. Al-Zalaam opting to seed that forest, spread out to the sides here to see if they can catch the Seder element. It does look like the Seder element is choosing to split at this point in time, sending one squad across this land bridge here to this little island. I am interested to see how that's going to affect their play, because once again, this river difference could end up being a challenge if these guys do get engaged prior to reconvening their element. I'm happy to see this. We have a rear guard here that's focused on maintaining security to the flank. But once again, any movement from Al-Zalaam across this open is going to be tough. So as much as it is restricting to have your back to this river, any approach or assault from this direction is going to be very, very difficult to pull off if Seder is paying attention. There are a couple draws here that do allow for some form of movement, but they are very obvious, and it is quite risky to make that play. So I do not anticipate we'll see any kind of Al-Zalaam maneuver from this location around to the flank until the first blocking position or the first engagement occurs over here on the right. And this is a new area or new piece of terrain that the players are fighting over here that we have not really seen too much on camera. So really cool to see that. Looks like we are looking to gear up for our first engagement here. We have 1-1 Seder in the lead, 1-2 Seder on the left side supporting, and 1-4 Al-Zalaam with 1-3 Al-Zalaam looking to be up front here. So it's roughly a 2-on-2 engagement here. The question is going to be, how well can Al-Zalaam wrap the remaining two squads around and kind of encircle Seder, or can Seder leverage their number advantage off rip, punch through, and get through this blocking force before they're encircled?
For sure, and we start seeing some of the Seder element get a line in position here, and we'll have to see if they're gonna spot this fire team leader in the next few seconds here, just because he's all up there alone, and he's currently running into the entirety of the frontline element. So if something pops up here, you're gonna be just a pretty bad position overall to repel the attack. So
I do think that fire team leader did spot the Seder movement, and he's pulled back now to his element. I think they are looking to try to initiate. It's going to be a point-blank engagement here. See a react to contact, rounds going out, suppressive fire. And now the first engagement is going to kind of roll into a larger fight here. It's going to come down to intelligence and reconnaissance at this point. Leadership on both sides are kind of feeling out the engagement. Once again, we, from the spectator point of view, we have an overwhelming amount of knowledge here of where every element's position is. And so, it's very easy for us to make these calls of, oh, these squads should do this and that. But on the ground, they're piecing together how many guys are here, what's to my front, what's to the flank, what's the terrain around us look. Once again, that just from a bird's eye perspective, knowing the terrain is very important as well. on the ground. They have to look where the slopes, where the buildings, where could we be attacked from. And it does look like Al-Zalaam, being the first movers here, are going to be the aggressive ones, swinging 1-2 Al-Zalaam around, and then 2 squads from Al-Zalaam now making that movement to the rear, as we mentioned, after that blocking force in the front has made that determination. So ball is now in Sater's court. How are they going to handle this? Are they going to hold this defensive perimeter and try to just lock down their flanks and engage on all sides? Or are they going to, potentially punch through and attempt forward maneuver? Looks like 1-4 Sater now moving up on the left flank of the platoon and trying to get the platoon online here for a frontal push. We do still have 1-1 in the rear, kind of as a rear guard here. Where is 1-3 Sater? 1-3 Sater actually off even more further to the right, taking this land bridge. A little separated. The flank is open at this time with 1-4 pushing up to assist. It does look like the platoon is online with 3 squads trying to make this frontal movement, but they do need to secure their flank somehow, some way. I'd be very cautious with how they're making this push with no flank security. If they do this and they full commit, it needs to be fast.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it were me down there on leadership, I would probably definitely get an element on rear security, at least a fire team. We start seeing this very aggressive and very quick movement from Al-Zalaam trying to get on their back foot here. So it would really pay off for Sater to realize that even though we secure the route coming here, that doesn't exempt us from being walked behind, and probably shifting a few dudes over to the rear to ensure that we're not completely surrounded at this time would definitely pay off in the long run. And as we start seeing all of the rest of the elements to the classic strategy of encircling the entire enemy force, it's gonna keep getting increasingly difficult for Sater's side to actually repel this this threat if they don't lock down their back sector here.
Yeah, and this leaving the door open. This leaves the door open for Al-Zalaam now to get in the line here with 1-1. And once Al-Zalaam is in your line, in your perimeter, things become much more difficult. So it's going to come down to how well Sater can now react to an element essentially in their line on the flank. And basically, once again, we still have 2 other squads from Al-Zalaam not yet engaged. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be pretty dirty here from the Sater perspective. It's going to be rough. We want to make sure that this element doesn't get too far spread out here. We're already moving 2. As soon as you're removing 2 elements separated from the main body, it can get pretty dangerous. And Sater set up perfectly, utilizing their momentum, making bold maneuvers, bold flanks. And now they're going to be able to tie up this squad in a one-on-one engagement. These 2 squads are going to be tied up in a 2-on-2 engagement. But we have this knife in the back coming in from 1-1 Al-Zalaam. And it's pretty much going to come down to how well this element on the right, I believe that is 1-3 Sater, is going to be able to kind of swing the battle either way. But right here on the left, we have a one-on-one squad engagement point blank in the field here. It's going to come down to fire team maneuvers. We can see both elements utilizing their fire teams to the best of their abilities, but this is going to become a massive brawl here between these 2 elements with no support for either one of them. And just from a mathematical standpoint, this is going to work out for Al-Zalaam. Al-Zalaam always wants to go 1-to-1 whenever they can, point blank with the enemy. And we can just see, once again, once you're surrounded, taking fire from multiple angles, that chaos is devastating. So 1-3 Al-Zalaam doing a good job of crippling that Sater squad on the left. And here comes 1-1 Al-Zalaam in the rear of the Sater line.
Yep, completely unaware. Unfortunately, gotta get completely walked on by the Al-Zalaam element. And at this point, it's pretty hard to see a good outcome from the Sater side unless they can react pretty quickly to gain the advantage on this flank. If that doesn't happen, then unfortunately they're gonna be in a pretty tight spot considering the asymmetrical nature of this exchange here. Al-Zalaam can afford to lose a couple guys, but Sater cannot really afford to lose that many considering the advantage of lives that they have over one another. And with the rest of the platoon being engaged elsewhere, there's really no chance for any other elements to support one another at this point. We have a situation where all elements are currently caught off and unable to assist one another, unable to react to these maneuvers and pretty much look for a numerical or firepower advantage here on the opposing side. And having that initial engagement that you were commenting on the short brawl, Sater being completely wiped at this point over there, it just paints a pretty bad picture for the future of the team in the next few minutes here. being at this point overrun by Al-Zalaam. And this whole thing stemming from the lack of rear security. I think we could agree that has pretty much punched a devastating hole on the Russian team.
Yeah, Seder definitely, unfortunately, spreading themselves out too thin, and Al-Zalaam just reading them like a book, and just completely able to sneak into the line with absolutely zero rear security here is devastating. So it is very important in Bellum to maintain security to your flanks and rear. I guarantee you Al-Zalaam will try it. I guarantee you something will come from the 6 o'clock, just because that is the most effective way that Al-Zalaam can convert these engagements. This is an isolated incident of like how you want individual engagements to work against that faction, and it shows why Al-Zalaam wants to flank, right? If Al-Zalaam is ever caught in a one-on-one engagement to the front, it is very hard for them to win fights. They'll get shredded at range if you can maintain standoff like this. But if they can do exactly what they wanted to over here, get in your line, start a knife fight, get in between intermix, overrun positions with aggression, and sweep through, it is devastating. It is absolutely devastating. And so Seder now having to kind of figure out how to crawl back from this position. In my opinion, Musco, I do believe at this point the only recourse is to straight up break contact. You're routed at this point in time. Cut your losses, regroup, and reorganize for the next battle. Just Al-Zalaam categorically destroying this Seder line here.
Absolutely. As you mentioned, at this point in time, I just don't see another route. Pick up as many casualties as we're able to, pretty much make as much distance. Get a stronghold. And, now that I look at just the layout of the general area here, it would be very interesting to see, Seder take a step back and occupy the quarry here. Having those, I know that's a blockout building that we don't really, we haven't seen completed yet. But, occupying this whole area and really, taking control back of their own situation, of course, and being able to, reorganize and rearm themselves will definitely go a long way for them, just, on the longevity of this fight and how they're going to approach this. The quarry being set up in the layout that it is, it is definitely a very defendable position from our perspective, at least. Of course, once again, we have all the cards on the game, and unfortunately on the ground, they don't really have as much information as we do. But, something along those lines of just reconsolidating and being able to, gain that number advantage back up and pretty much just making sure we keep not losing any bodies and any equipment to the Al-Zalaam side, I think would be the best recourse for Seder at this point in time in the game.
That is one very important part about Bellum that sets it apart from all other tactical shooters, in my opinion, is the idea that breaking contact, falling back, that is pivotal to your experience, right? Not only do you need to know how to advance forward, but you need to know when to break contact, when to retreat, when to regroup and reorganize yourselves for the next fight. And we do see some of that call going out here now. Seder is starting to pull back their elements, and that's something that we've had to retrain a lot of players' brains on, right? Is that idea that, hey, we can go backwards, right? Because that's not necessarily something you see too much showcased in a lot of games as far as the game mode allows for that kind of behavior. But in Bellum, because the objective in attrition specifically, this first game mode here, is to simply find, fix, and finish the enemy, falling back is a pivotal skill that players and leadership need to know how to utilize in order to retain their element and kind of stem the losses that they'll suffer. And now we're in a really tough spot here. We have Seder now broken up, that entire line decimated, absolutely decimated. A fantastic job from Al-Zalaam once again. We have a mass-called Seder element here, as you mentioned, them pulling back into this building and kind of hard pointing up would be great. But this Seder element right here, 1-4 Seder, caught in their retreat. They are routed, and Al-Zalaam smells the blood in the water. They are chasing them down, hunting them down. This is, extreme guerrilla tactics here. They are leveraging their aggression to the best of their ability. And now this Seder element also mass-called down. They've been found. They've been fixed. Now it's going to come down to what element is going to finish them. It looks like 1-4. Al-Zalaam is moving in to assist as well. And Seder is just this is a tough match. So we'll take a look at the numbers here. Seder already down to 75% manpower reserves with Al-Zalaam at 94. Massive 20-point swing towards Al-Zalaam. Once again, the game ends when a team's manpower reaches 40%. So Seder already halfway there, and it is not looking great. 1-2 Bravo, a squad attack here being initiated on 1-3 Seder. 1-2 Bravo's fire team coming in here from Al-Zalaam and moving in on this flank. Great maneuver here from 1-2 cell leader here on the Al-Zalaam side, initiating this squad attack. And Seder, once again, you got to maintain eyes on your flank. They are focused too much onto the front, and to some degree, that's all they can do. They don't have the numbers to really maintain this mass cal, address the contact at the front, and secure their flanks. It's why we always talk about being supported by another squad. Being alone as a squad is very difficult. And now 1-2 coming in through online, searching for the remaining element here. And a fantastic squad attack from 1-2 Al-Zalaam. Absolutely fantastic squad attack. There's now only this 1-3 alpha guy, AT guy left alive on this position, and that is once again going to eat into Seder's manpower reserves. And then this squad as well, I don't know how they're going to get out of this fight. 1-3 initiating their own squad attack on Al-Zalaam's side, and it does look like this element was also overrun. So this is Muskul. This is a full platoon wipe on the board for Seder at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Just pretty devastating losses. We're talking about already a 70% indicator on manpower reserves against the 92%. So it is pretty detrimental for the team cohesion overall. And the statistics, they just reflect the real, the real situation down on the ground, right? We have completely devastated the whole Seder element in having taken as little casualties as we did. We're talking about a 92% manpower reserve from Al-Zalaam. Really hard to see how Seder is gonna come back from this at this point in time, how they're gonna reorganize themselves to allow to get something out of it. At this point in time in the game, I'm thinking, we only have one more large engagement until we start seeing some shift in the tide of the game. But I just fail to see how Al-Zalaam is not going to come out victorious out of this one, unfortunately.
Seder, you mean? Oh, wait, no, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it is going to be very difficult for Seder to come back from a 30-point manpower disparity. That being said, though, Muskul, the game can always turn around. There's no real snowball mechanic because of that. And that means that every fight, even fighting from a 30-point disparity, I mean, even right here, right? A fantastic example of Al-Zalaam sweeping through a 30-point with taking 8 points in casualties. If Seder can do the same, they can even up the game. And it is very possible to make those sweeping plays, to make those big movements. But they have to play more consolidated, right? We saw Al-Zalaam working perfectly as a squad, right? Or as a platoon, I should say. We'll switch over to the blackboard here and kind of go through how this played out for Al-Zalaam and the coordination that was required for the tactics at play. They did a fantastic job. Al-Zalaam set up two areas, essentially. We had the wood line set, and we had the eastern side set. So the west and east set of two squads per each side. And they played it out perfectly. Seder, basically, they looked to draw in Seder on one of the two sides. It just so happened to be the east side that the Seder platoon walked into. They very lightly, you saw it happen live, very lightly, this eastern element engaged these guys at range. We didn't see these guys immediately charge in and try to finish the fight. What we saw with this blocking element is they perfectly, right? They just held the line. They just fixed them in place. They just caused a little bit of an issue. They did not advance. They did not force the issue. The eastern element basically acted as bait. And with that bait, the western element then was able to rotate in on the flank. They rotated another squad in on the side. Fantastic platoon coordination from Al-Zalaam's side. The issue is that Seder just needs to understand how to fight this. And once again, Bellum is a hard game. By no means is it easy to play this experience. Conventional elements have to work together. There is no option but to use teamwork as a platoon, because in order to secure your flanks, in order to secure 360 security, it requires the platoon working as one in order to move this monolithic, very powerful, very slow vehicle safely through the map. And so what we ended up seeing on the Seder side was we had a really cool front line with two squads from Seder. And then we ended up moving a left flank to kind of get aggression in. but we moved our right flank in a pincer move it as well. I think personally, Musco, I would have liked to see this one of these elements kind of float in between the left flank push, or maybe even the right flank push, whatever, if we're picking left or right, and kind of tie the line in together, right? And that way you can have this element maintain a little bit of that rear security that screens the left flank and the center, especially with the rear being already kind of obscured or kind of isolated by the river itself. So very interesting things at play, and it's very easy to see how delicate the platoon play is in Bellum. I'm interested to see how they're going to be able to come back from this. What are your thoughts? What do you think you're doing as Satyr here to kind of bring back the game a little bit?
I think we definitely look towards learning from our mistakes here. You know, we probably realize that, as we mentioned before, right? We spread ourselves too thin and not allow really one another to really support the element close to us. Now that what we're seeing right here is, occupying places on the big tree line here that we commonly see in a lot of fights. And, Al-Zalaam having to push back into that tree line because that is the place they want to be at. There is a big opportunity for Satyr here to really catch them unaware and, get some manpower advantage out of it, and having that same control of the tree line allows themselves to once again push Al-Zalaam out of their comfort zone and push them towards one another, right? If we're able to, as you mentioned, lock down our sectors and be able to support one another, then we are in the right position to pretty much ensure that we're always catching them on the far engagements, right? The engagements where Al-Zalaam is probably not going to be as effective as a faction like Satyr.
Yeah, and once again, we see this a lot after winning the first fight. It is not uncommon for Al-Zalaam to get so emboldened that they start doing some really aggressive things. Right now, moving 2 squads, it looks like, release a squad plus across this open slope. There is some concealment here, but this is once again a possible area where their misstep could lead to a Satyr kind of flip. It's going to come down to if Satyr's able to spot this movement before it gets too deep. But once again, we did mention that these slopes are open, but there is still a significant amount of concealment, and this gradient does actually end up becoming a bit of a challenge to spot things on the low ground, but it is still very much open compared to other parts of the map. The problem is going to be if Satyr spots this. They have to be spotting this.
Somewhere 300 to 500 meters to the east.
Yeah, I see him.
Ooh,
Okay, they are spotted. Contact report goes out. Gonna come to if Satyr can get this under control before Al-Zalaam gets into the tree line and once again separates or intermixes amongst the element. But yeah, guys, if you're looking for contact, as funny as it is, if you hold rear security after the contact's been initiated, you are going to run into enemies. They will try to flank you because they do not want to run headfirst into machine guns.
Absolutely, and we see this. We see this engagement start to pop off with 1-2 engaging 1-4 Bravo from Al-Zalaam side. Unfortunately, the enemy team has already made it partially to the tree line, so we're gonna have to see how Satyr stops them from being surrounded from that general direction. At this point in time, we have the intelligence, the information that their direction of movement. And if I were in charge here, I would definitely be looking towards setting at least a buddy team to overlook that general direction while the rest of the platoon gets to the area here.
Yeah, and it does look like we have a much more solid line and perimeter set up here. The question is going to be if these guys are paying attention. They're tunnel visioned, right? And this is what we talk about a lot. You're leaving the door open if we are not. They're looking over to what is already being addressed by 1-2 here, and it's leaving the door open to 1-3 here. They're just going to sneak straight in because 1-2 is not maintaining proper security, and that is going to punish them. It's going to come down to other squads to kind of address this issue. It looks like 1-4 is spreading away from the line. We're leaving this gap open. 1-3 is in the perfect place to exploit this. Like, the line needs to be airtight. It needs to be airtight. Al-Zalaam is going to find whatever little slip, whatever little gap they can get into. And at this point, they found it.
Yep.
This is tragic. I feel for these guys on the ground here. But once again, your line needs to be airtight. It needs to be airtight. If you leave if you leave 20 meters open, it is very easy for Al-Zalaam to slip a whole element in. And I think at this point, I think if these two elements were closer together, tied in once again with the tree line, you are going to have to collapse closer together whenever your vision or your sight lines are even more obscured because of terrain, cover, or concealment, it does mean you need to condense the formation. You need to get closer together. You do not spread further out. And it is going to be, once again, just a massive sweep here. So just unfortunate execution here. Once again, a lot of players are very new to the experience. It is a challenging game to play. You can see how important teamwork is. And Al-Zalaam is just really, like, I do have to say, Al-Zalaam is being incredibly lucky with slipping in between the lines, with knowing the right places to strike, and being able to filter in and get intermixed.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, to speak on Seder's, you know, benefit here, they were pretty much able to lock down that entire right assault team and, you know, win themselves some time here early, react and shift the next squad that's coming up from the rear over to, you know, take that position that just got overrun by by Al-Zalaam elements. So, you know, once again, going back to what you mentioned before, the fact that the fights being as dynamic as they are, you know, we can still see a very good comeback from Seder if they play their cards right at this time.
Yeah, and once again, I do think we just need to make a route call. We need to break contact, reconsolidate as soon as the lines are like it's like Vietnam, boys, right? It's literally like Vietnam, right? These guys are intermixed, they're charging through the line, you're being overrun, and we can kind of see how devastating being overrun is in real time against a conventional faction. And that is literally what's happening. Al-Zalaam understands how to be aggressive, how to get in the line, and it's just devastating. It is so fragile. It might feel, you might feel safe with your PKM machine guns and your body armor, but, you know, if Al-Zalaam can catch you where they want you and start that knife fight in the line, the amount of chaos, right? Just not knowing where you're getting shot from. Individual guys or buddy teams working as pairs to kind of attack from every angle and surround you. It is terrifying. It is terrifying. It is confusing. It is literally overwhelming on the ground. And once you start taking these casualties, you start feeling fixed. You don't want to leave dudes behind. It gets very, very difficult. So yeah, my only guide to conventional force players, whether that's Ranger or to Seder, you have to play together. If you do not play together, you literally will get rolled. You will literally get rolled by Al-Zalaam because they will encircle you. They will strike you with the full force of the platoon. They will get in between your elements. They will cause chaos. I think that's something we're seeing very much so used very effectively, is Al-Zalaam players understanding how to cause chaos and how to be aggressive. It is very much so the case that these Al-Zalaam players are understanding how to experience Bellum.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, once again, we unfortunately do not see the break contact call, and we are gonna see, you know, some pretty large, I want to say, skirmishes from this point forward, which it just points out to be, you know, the final engagement of the match is going off of statistics here for manpower. Unless, you know, obviously Seder can use some, you know, game-changing plays here and take some game-changing positions, or, you know, as a miracle, fend off this entire platoon-size element, approaching them from their left flank. It's gonna be pretty challenging for Seder to get anything out of this at this point in time.
Yeah, this is just a thing that, like, players have to learn. It is just a new way to play a shooter. It is very different from other platoon shooters in that, like, your platoon literally has to play like a platoon. You have to be very in sync with other teammates. It's how we force the teamwork and encourage the teamwork. You have to be much closer together. You have to work with the other guys in the platoon.
We gotta go.
If you are, you know, even a little bit further away than the enemy, or further away from being able to support, it is devastating. And we'll kind of go into why at the halftime break of why we want to kind of be closer together. But yeah, you want to play it pretty tight. You want to play it very authentically close together, right? You want to use authentic platoon tactics. You don't want to do, you know, a lot of other game squads are essentially doing platoon level tactics and going off on their own and achieving objectives by their own as squads. But in Bellum, very much so, you want to work as an actual real world platoon. And that is a level of skill or depth that, you know, the players just have to learn, and that's completely fine, right? Just like any complex game that you play, there is definitely a skill curve in Bellum that sets it apart from other experiences, that creates a different style of gameplay than you know, people in the genre might be used to, because it is so authentic and requires such authentic platoon tactics. And we are seeing, you know, Al-Zalaam in this case, they've learned how to do so, and that team has some experienced players. It is hard to play conventional factions, Musco. I think conventional factions are harder to play than Al-Zalaam in this experience. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. You know, I always say this, that it is much harder to actually, you know, employ the systems that we give conventional teams, just because of the nature of them, right? As opposed to an unconventional faction like Al-Zalaam, where, you know, we're not really worried about all of the systems, all of the tools we have at hand. We're worried about, you know, the maneuvering, the numerical advantage side of things, whereas a conventional faction is more intricate, right? We're looking more towards applying, you know, real concepts to these battles, or like you know, gaining, you know, positional advantage, you know, strategical advantage from the other team. And it's just a harder concept to grasp as a player, especially, you know, with new players. We start seeing more people, you know, once they crack the code, right? Once they figure it out, we start seeing some of the more experienced players, you know, understand and really abuse the once again, the mechanics and tools and like design decisions that we give to the conventional factions, just because once you figure it out, right, and there's really like not much going back to it. Like you understand your position in the overarching game design, and you really understand how to employ all of the tools that are given to you. So yeah, like, you know, if I were to like rank it all together, I would say that, you know, Al-Zalaam is probably the easiest faction to play, and then followed by that is Satyr, and then, you know, having at the very top of the chain would be Ranger Regiment at this point in time, just because of, you know, the compositional difference from the other two. It just creates a totally different dynamic overall as a game.
Yeah, it is. I am quite proud at how we've been able to distinguish the play styles of all three factions, and get the game to play asymmetrically, even with the bare tools that we have right now in the experience. You can truly see, like, Al-Zalaam, the guerrilla faction, they really, you know, inherit those properties, and they play very much so like a scrappy insurgent faction, right? They move in fast, they look to overrun, they're attacking on flanks, they have home field advantage. Like, they very much play like a scrappy insurgent faction, whereas, you know, Satyr, you know, maybe not as effectively in this match. They have to play as a conventional platoon a little bit more so, or Ranger Regiment, I think very much so demonstrates that, you know, you have to work as a platoon because of those gun teams, and making sure that, you know, your guns are in the right position, you have proper lines of fire. It is a lot more controlled within Ranger Regiment, even more so than Satyr. And so that is, you know, definitely super fun to watch. It's just a cool experience, instead of seeing like two identical strategies collide with one another, seeing how either team adapts to the weird things going on with the other team. But yeah, Satyr down to 4% manpower left here on the ropes. They were able to bring Al-Zalaam down to 76 from 92, so they did do some damage here. But we just, once again, if you choose as a conventional force to walk into this forest, you have to be airtight. You have to have literally like interlocking sectors of fire. You got, as a squad leader, it is much more challenging. As a fire team leader, it is much more involved. As the platoon leader, it's much more involved, right? Because you have to have even more coordination, right? You have to be going around checking and making sure your lines are tied in, making sure your movement is controlled. Fighting in the forest is difficult for conventional factions, as it should be, unless they're very controlled and on top of their things. Then it can be very easy, right? It's still all a skill issue to a degree, as far as like how well your platoon is working together, how well you tie in the lines, and whatnot. But it is just flat out more difficult. And there we see the timer going out. It will be an Al-Zalaam victory for round one. Congrats to Al-Zalaam. Just a brilliant display of aggression and guerrilla tactics, envelopment, That first engagement, right? That first engagement would have gone very differently if that blocking position on the right side, that first engagement, chose to get aggressive and force the issue and essentially lose casualties walking into 3 Satyr squads. But they played it right. They hit the line, they stalled the line, they backed off, and that's all they needed to do was keep Satyr in place, keep them held down, and then they swung the rest of their elements along. I don't want to understate how important that single play was from that squad on the right flank on the initial engagement. Just holding the Satyr in place, not pushing in, not throwing away their lives. Because, for example, if they had decided to do that on the initial fight and they broke and they ran towards the Satyr line and they got chopped down by machine guns in place, that would almost embolden Satyr to continue forward movement, to be able to push and press on, and it might change the equation of the entire match, right? So honestly, good job from Al-Zalaam for setting the trap, luring them in, and collapsing. That's exactly what you want to see. That's exactly how the faction should be played. It's just unfortunate that Satyr was unable to secure their flanks as they push forward. They had a really cool platoon line set up, right, Musco? They had things really cool set up, but it's fragile. And you know, it's funny, it's like it always reminds me of Kill Cog, right? Some of these Arma events that we've done in the past previously, you and I personally, where like, we know, right? Musco and I know how difficult it is on the ground as a conventional force when you are outnumbered and you have a fast guerrilla element that's moving to encircle or get into your lines. You have to take things incredibly slow. You have to take things incredibly patiently. You have to make sure you are securing your lines and moving things up properly. Everyone has to be kind of like aware of that fact. And once again, this is a whole level, of milsim that just needs to be reached with the general population. And it is cool that it is possible to do so. So we're moving on here to round 2. We are going to be rocking into AO2, I believe.
Yep. I believe so, at least. It should do that.
But yeah, while we take this small break here, we are going to do a small giveaway. Yeah, and then we'll go into some platoon tactics if we're still waiting to load in here. So the way that this is going to work, Musco's going to drop the launcher link one more time for everyone. And a reminder that we are doing 3 key giveaways, okay? There's going to be one on YouTube. There's going to be one on Twitch. And then the third we're going to be doing at the end of the stream. Okay?
Oh, actually, can you drop it in... I'm going to send it to you. Can you drop it in YouTube?
Yeah, you can't. I can do it. Yeah. So these keys are supporter keys, $100 keys that do get you in the experience right now. You do need to make an account. You need to download the launcher, make an account, and get to the submit a key page. Just because of how fast it's gonna go. It's first come first serve for this week. We will eventually, with time, move to a raffle system or something like that in the future. But for today, it is just first come first serve. Okay, so yeah, once again, make sure you download, make sure you have your account ready to go and accept the key. These are $100 supporter keys. They get you access to the closed alpha. And the key's going to be dropped in chat. Yes, Eclipse. So all you got to do is make your account, get ready to copy paste the key into your launcher in the area where it says submit a key. All right. So, stand by.
I believe I can drop them now in chat if you need me to.
I can drop the keys. It's all right. It's all right. All right. So the first one's going to be on YouTube. Once again, make sure you're in the right spot on your launcher to submit the key to play. Okay.
Hold on.
Hold on.
I give it a minute, I guess. We can give it a minute.
Okay, we'll give you guys a minute. All right, we'll give you guys a minute. While we're waiting for people to download their launchers and get ready, we'll look through the chat here, answer any quick questions that might have come up. Let's see here. Yes, there are terminal ballistics. There's wind. There's body armor. Different calibers have different damage. Different explosive munitions have different frag patterns and frag counts. Is urban combat planned? Yes, eventually. It's just a big art problem because like it requires a lot of art assets and buildings and whatnot. We are using Lumen currently. That game did end on manpower attrition win condition. So 40% from 100%. How many keys we're dropping? We're dropping one on YouTube and one on Twitch right now. Other faction in the future, slowly, because we do spend a lot of time with the factions. They're not just copy paste of assets and whatnot. There's a lot of design that goes into every faction, and that of course will become exponentially more so once we add in vehicles and customization and everything. So factions will be rolled out very slowly compared to other games because of how much care and dedication we take with them. No, if you win this giveaway, only people who can win this giveaway are people who don't have the game, because it's gonna be gone in like 0.1 second because someone's gonna redeem it. How do you become an SL? Right now it's first come first serve, but we do have other systems in place to kind of safeguard that. We're not going to talk about it yet, but like that is it's not fully fleshed out yet. Yes, body armor is in game. Frag pattern is randomized. Are there any fictional weapons? Not really. No, the game's mostly rooted in realism.
So just real quick, you guys, because I seen this question a couple times. You need to download the launcher and then make an account and then log into your account, and then you will be prompted to redeem a game key. That's where you'll have to get it from chat if you're the lucky one.
All right, we'll answer a couple more questions here and then we'll continue. This will be the last question, then we're gonna drop the key. So once again, make sure you have the launcher downloaded, you've set up your account, and you're in that screen waiting to submit the key. Tough one. How you keep the gameplay organized while having a big number of players? A couple things. Number one, we are very careful with the growth of the game, right? So we don't plan on like having multiple free weekend after free weekends, or discounting the game over and over and over again and flooding the game with the wrong type of player. It's important for us that we want to hit the demographic that is looking for this experience, and we want to like carefully invite and grow the player base, right? That is important for everyone involved, right? Whether it's the players, whether it's us from a design perspective. We want to be very delicate with how we grow the player base. We want to grow it steadily. There's a lot of things that we're going to do community side to make sure that, you know, we're giving out as much learning material and spaces and room to grow as possible. But there's a lot of in-game design systems that kind of encourage teamwork, to the point where like teamwork is almost the only thing you can do. Like you can run off on your own, but like you won't be having the best experience in any way, shape, or form compared to other experiences, with how our objectives are set up, with how our medical set up, with how you have limited lives, with how you have limited map information. Like pretty much once you have to play it to understand it, but once you load into a match of Bellum, there's nothing really to do aside from work with your team. Like that is, there's no objective on the map that's clear that you can lone wolf to. There's no like idea where the enemy spawns are or what direction they're coming from that you can lone wolf and get like a whole bunch of kills going to. You have to work as an element. You have to work as a team. And it's further punished by the fact that you have limited lives. If you run off on your own, if you don't work together, you are heavily punished for that fact. You will learn that lesson. I guarantee it. Okay. So here we go. Would I say Twitch first?
YouTube first.
YouTube first.
I got the Twitch one. Yeah.
All right, YouTube. The key's being dropped, and then we'll wait a little bit, and then we'll drop the Twitch one. YouTube keys going out now. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. YouTube key. All right, and now we are moving over to Twitch. Twitch, make sure you're ready to rock and roll. If it's not letting you redeem, it's because someone has already redeemed it.
Yes, that is the idea.
Unfortunately. It is first come, first serve. So someone's got it. And now we're going over to Twitch. And we're going to be dropping the Twitch key in 3, 2, 1. All right, good luck. Fast fingers on this one. Once again, in the future, we will have a better raffle away system going. But for today, this weekend, we're just shotgunning them out. And then keep in mind, we are doing one more giveaway at the end of the stream. So there's still one more chance for you individuals to jump in on this experience. So hang tight. How are some people so fast? It's just some people are just cracked, you know.
That's funny. Yeah, congratulations to the 2 winners. Do please go ahead and open up a support ticket over at the Discord so we can get you tagged up for the role, and we can get you started with some other stuff. But as far as the game goes, you're all set. Once you redeem the key, once you install it, you can jump into any test moving forward, and that key is completely usable in the future.
Yep. Awesome. Remember, one more key at the end of the stream here. But now, yeah, we're going to hop into the round 2, AO2. We have Rangers versus Satyr. So a conventional, unconventional experience here, different from conventional versus unconventional. The tactics you're going to see here are going to be a little bit more kind of literally conventional. I don't know how else to explain it. But this is going to be more of a conventional skirmish here. I do expect to see lines being drawn, support by fires being established, and frontal assaults being not necessarily, or encirclement not necessarily being utilized. And that's once again because of the how these games are asymmetrically balanced. Both teams in this case are starting at the same time. They will meet roughly at the midline of the map, so neither one has a positional advantage over the other necessarily. And this map is very interesting because this AO, a lot more of rolling open fields than the previous. And there's a little bit of like a midline with this current AO, where this center valley that we're hovering through here, this becomes the point or line of contention. Now, there's a lot of different ways to crack this cookie for teams to approach this kind of terrain, or to choose how to cross it, or to trite the enemy at range. But this valley we're flying through right here does end up being pretty brutal. No man's land. That's the only real way to say it. No man's land. The last key giveaway, we're seeing questions in chat, will be through our Discord. I'll be dropping it in our Discord chat. In our Discord general chat for Play Bellum. So that's discord.gg/playbellum. We'll be dropping it there pretty much roughly in an hour, right? As soon as this match wraps up. Yeah.
Cool. So for this round, it is, I believe, let me check, blue being Ranger Regiment, and then red's gonna be, if you can check that for
Satyr.
me. Satyr, yep. So conventional, unconventional fight here over AO2. Very interesting to see, because I personally have not seen it yet, how this AO works out, conventional versus conventional, with 76 players. You know, this is something that I personally not seen before. I don't know if you saw this yesterday, but I'm just very excited to see how it actually plays out. You know, just because of the layout of AO2 and how everything works with, you know, one another. Very interested to see what's going to happen, what decisions are going to be taken, and how the general gameplay flow is going to be for both teams, you know, being conventional.
Yep. It does look like Satyr is hauling much quicker than the Rangers. Rangers are taking it much more safe. And it does look like we might be able to skip this center valley, honestly. It might end up being so that we're going to see a middle line drawn over the fields. And I do love watching fights over these fields. There's a lot more room here compared to the valley for maneuver, with a ton of concealment and buildings here. This farmland just adds a lot of lanes that are available. However, there's still open danger areas that you can simply not cross. And Rangers doing a great job here getting up online. Let's take a look at the Ranger Regiment and how they have their weapon squad distributed. Now, once again, Rangers are different, right? Every squad has their own unique little thing, right? Ranger Regiment is organized just like they would be in the real world. They have 3 line squads with symmetrical fire teams. And they also have a weapons squad. That weapons squad 1-4 contains 3 240 machine guns with assistant gunners, and the hat team, which is shooting the Carl Gustav, which is once again buddy loaded. So a lot of firepower in that 4th squad for the Rangers. It sets them apart from the other 3 factions, but they can utilize that squad in a couple ways. The first way is just as a weapon squad, establish a single monolithic base of fire with all 3 guns in the goose on one position. Or I think what we're seeing right now, which is super cool, it is advanced, is we are seeing the machine gun teams attached to each line squad. And that basically means that there's a machine gun distributed. The players have determined that there's a machine gun. They're going to distribute the weapon squad and set a machine gun into each line squad, thus augmenting every line squad with additional firepower. That 240 is lethal, shooting 7.62 NATO, belt linked, can fire continuously so long as it is fed ammo until we get heat mechanics in. And so every squad now has their 2 fire teams, and the players have just determined that they're going to attach the machine guns to each line squad. So very cool adaptation here. You can just kind of see how much teamwork is really utilized within the experience and how the player base is taking it and running with it. Once again, this is just one of our servers. A lot of players think, oh, these are hardcore milsim units playing against each other. We have multiple servers up. It's a mixed bag across all servers, from people of different backgrounds, different regions, different gaming experience. But the experience and the community just live and breathe this stuff, right? So it's very easy for them to kind of get into that mindset, utilize those tactics and strategies, and work together because we give them the platform and the rules and the design to do it. And it does look like we're lining up here, Mushko, for our first engagement of the match.
It does look like it. Yeah, this Ranger fire team pretty much walking into the entire lane of a Satyr element, not the place you want to be in. However, the terrain does play, I must say, it does play at Ranger Regiment's advantage here. You know, them having the slightly higher elevation here and being, you know, correctly positioned on the, you know, large open lane that they have right now. You know, as much as we like to see it, they are, I would like to say, in the best position possible at this point to really repel this engagement if they do hit take here in the next few minutes.
Yeah. Rangers do have a couple of gun teams set up already. They're in a decent position, but they are spread out within this field center, in the center of it. There is a decent amount of concealment and cover here, but just the sheer overwhelming firepower on initiation from Satyr might just be devastating. There's a lot of machine guns, a lot of AT, a lot of HE that they can throw out in rapid succession, and that could end up being an issue. We are seeing some bounding occur here from 1-3. 1-3 is moving one element up at a time. But once again, they're getting a little further away from the main force that I'd like to see some follow-up bounds from additional squads so that we can move to support should we hit contact. But they haven't hit contact yet. Yeah, I have no idea how this is going to play out. I don't really know. It's going to come down to how the initial contact is conducted, who's able to initiate first. Satyr also kind of spread out with a line set up down there to the rear. As I think we're going to hit contact here. This 1-3 Alpha Senior Grenadier kind of scouting on his own. It's going to be interesting to see how much damage he can do on his own, or if he ends up getting caught and punished for being away from his element. I think he does see this squad. He's checking his map. That usually means he sees something.
I see Rangers west of me.
So yes, that squad leader does put a contact report out. And once again, that's a pretty good way to find contact, right? If you can ever spot the enemy without being spotted yourself, that is an advantage to you. Don't think that just because you spot the enemy, you have to immediately start shooting. Just think about that. That's like essentially map hacks for your team. If you're able to go in, find the enemy, know where they are, and fade away, that is a massive advantage. So just something to consider. That level of depth, that level of deception is important to the experience. It's not like other shooters where like, yeah, for why not? Just open up, right? We know where these guys are. These firefights, right? This initial engagement, when it does pop off, I almost guarantee you that this small engagement, however it starts, whatever tiny event happens here, will roll into a larger 30, 45-minute engagement that changes the shape of this match, right? So you always want to be careful of how you start the fire, right? Because the second that you pop off, that sets the tone for the first engagement of the entirety of the match, the first 30 minutes. You know, of course, unless a team breaks contact immediately. So you always want to be in the best position. There's a lot of care, a lot of planning going on right now that Musko and I cannot see because we're in the air, or cannot hear, that both teams are trying to make sure they're in the best position possible, that when this engagement kicks off, teams are in position and ready for it. So Seder has the advantage here. We can kind of see them moving and collapsing more units in, preparing for this engagement. We're trying to see if there's any Ranger movement. We see some Ranger movement happening now, very much so a cat and mouse game between the two teams, moving one element here, moving one element there, preparing for this fight. I still don't know if Rangers have spotted the enemy. I don't know, Musko, if you picked up any comms on the ground down there.
Yeah, actually, the Ranger team that was the Ranger squad that was just holding in position there, they were able to spot this one Russian, but they decided actually to not push the contact precisely because they wanted to disseminate the information, and you know, them not having all of the cards here, and you know, knowing that the entire enemy platoon is on the tree line, they chose to go for the more conservative route and wait till the conditions are met for their own success here. And now that we see that, you know, we start seeing the rest of the elements pushing into position here, and then you know, getting prepared to the I want to say the big engagement, the first big engagement of the game here. And I do see that Senior Grenadier is pushing.
Both teams are spotting each other. Both teams acting very carefully, moving all elements in possession. Once again, wanting to maximize that first contact. I do think Seder has a little bit of an advantage running closer together. They have more elements in position to kind of snowball off of the initial engagement. Rangers kind of playing back with a squad in reserve. I'm not quite sure what 1-1 is planning to do. My hope, I think, on our end from the air is to see them pull up in a position where they can at least support rapidly, because once this kicks off, there is going to be fire coming across these open fields. It's going to be much more difficult to cross in to assist. But Rangers getting pretty aggressive. They're moving up. And
yeah, and we do have the gun line getting set down immediately. And, you know, for the Rangers' benefit, they are currently on the upper side of the slope here. So it's going to be a pretty detrimental push for Seder if they do want to take this forward. You know, it's very interesting to see, you know, the difference in tactics and, you know, just general gameplay from the last game, you know, because at that point we would have already seen, you know, some aggressive pushes from Al-Zalaam. Whereas now, you know, conventional versus conventional, we have this very elaborated, very, you know, methodical maneuvers. We do have the two grenadiers in the center here. A grenade currently going out, you know, probably recon by fire or something of that regard. But once again, with the amount of firepower currently set at the top of the crest here, I believe Rangers are in the best position to pretty much approach this in the best way possible. Yeah, I'm seeing that. It's very interesting to see that both teams are doing the exact same thing, just in different concepts here, where they're...
This guy's lost. So first shots have gone out. I wonder if 1-2 Alpha Grenadier has disconnected and that's the issue, and he's or there's something weird there. We have first contact going out here now. As you mentioned, Rangers have the advantage with the high ground. Seder during that time did make the decision to split their element up, but this high ground fight is going to be very difficult. The elevation difference here really going to favor Rangers, as they can put plunging fire into that low ground. However, Seder is supported with a second squad in this tree line, dishing out suppressing fire on that right element, and that high ground just might not be enough to make that position ineffective. Like, there's just so much suppressing fire coming out up here. These guys on this hill, despite having high ground advantage, I mean, it's working out pretty well. They haven't taken too many casualties. We see fire going out on both sides. Seder ramping it up.
Yep, we do definitely need to see those 240s start ripping through and start sending rounds down. Otherwise, it's going to be a pretty hard push, or sorry, a pretty hard defense for Ranger squad, Ranger regiment at this time. We see the entire maneuver from the rest of the platoon holding in the rear, currently moving to the front to really try to get something out of this and probably maneuver on the opposite side of the Ranger team.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard for either team to make any kind of movement with this terrain. Just these tree line to tree line pushes are going to have to be very controlled, platoon coordinated efforts. And both teams, I think, right now trying to feel it out. And right now we're entering that kind of midline of that engagement, or that first couple minutes of the fight, where you're kind of feeling out, are we winning this? Are we losing this? Who has the initiative? Who has the freedom to maneuver? And both teams are just kind of feeling it out currently. no team has really achieved fire superiority or the initiative at this point. Casualties going out on both sides, but once again, that terrain advantage, right? This terrain advantage, the good thing about it is it's going to be easier for Rangers to pick up their casualties because they are offered more terrain to crawl to their casualties versus being in the low ground, right? Like medicing these guys up, you are kind of exposed the entire way through. So it's going to be much harder. I think Sater's going to end up bleeding more casualties. And now we are finally seeing that 240 open up. We can see that stream of fire from that gun team starting to hammer. And you can just see the power that these 240s have when fed correctly. If they are able to keep that gun up and keep that stream of fire going, it is very strong. Let's take a look at this gun team and kind of see how they're operating, if they're up and still working.
Give me a mag, maybe.
I bandaged him, but I probably need something to wake up.
So they're still working sporadic fire. Meanwhile, once again, just a game of cat and mouse, right? No team wants to overextend. No team really wants to cause a mass cal that ends up snowballing the battle. And so we're just seeing this. Once again, we talked about this. It's going to take a 30-45 minute gunfight, right? The engagements in Bellum are long. These are actual authentic brawls that occur at range. And so right now what we're seeing is Sater looks like they're pulling out of the low ground slightly to kind of minimize their casualties, and they're shifting over to get on equal elevation by pushing over here to the fields. However, Rangers are set up now. Once again, attached gun teams means that every line squad has a machine gun, and with that placement, they are now utilizing those machine guns in proper positions, being able to apply equal pressure across the line with the 240s. So once again, that setup prior to the engagement, how they're distributing their guns, that matters. Every decision in Bellum matters. How they're where they're going, how their squads are positioned, the assets and where you place them. And now we can see once again all three guns that were attached working. We've got a gun here, we've got a gun here, and a gun here, all suppressing Sater forces at range. And that is just a massive advantage right now to Rangers. It's going to come down to how Sater can kind of flip the script here and come up with a counterattack strategy. It does look like they're moving with aggression to see if they can get around on that right flank from this perspective. You can see the PKMs also trying to counter these 240s.
1-6, this is 1-7. We're getting flanked from the east. They're coming around our east to the north. Over. We need backup from 1-4.
But that flank is now spotted. Muska, what are you hearing on the ground?
I actually got disconnected here.
All right. Well, we've got this right flank now in contact. It is 1-1 Rangers going up against 1-4 Sater here. It is a building-to-building kind of engagement. A lot of HE now going out. You can see the GM94s firing their frag pattern out there. That's how we can identify that. We've got some M320 HE getting tossed back into these rocks. Sater getting slammed out here. They just do not have as much cover as the Rangers. Rangers fighting from entrenched positions in buildings using windows, despite those buildings being able to be shot through because they're only mud. They still offer enough concealment and cover to really negate a lot of the fire coming through, and this spacing is just brutal. Getting peppered by every little bit of frag here is causing this flank to stall. On the right side here, we have the line set up. We have Rangers making an aggressive play here. 1-3 sneaking into the tree line. They're going to move to push in here at this point. And I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know how this is going to go. Rangers are now in the tree line. They have a foothold in the tree line. We'll see if they collapse additional elements in. And they're now going to be making a frontal assault. At this point now, with the foothold established, what we can see is additional Ranger elements follow up, and we can start see forward momentum here from Rangers. So Rangers in a good spot, I think, taking the advantage in this initial engagement here. Sater getting overrun. They are not prepared for this frontal assault. They are trying to pull back. Rangers need to collapse and continue momentum here. I don't think a fire team alone is enough to press this issue. They need to flood the tree line with more bodies. The right line has stabilized. Looks like Seder is tending to their casualties, but no forward momentum is going to really be able to be made against these battle positions here set up by Rangers. These buildings do have very good lines of sight. They are still taking casualties, as you can see, though, in these structures. So Seder pushing up or making a good effort on this engagement here. 1-1 Rangers executing a squad attack to try to finish 1-4 Bravo over here on the right. Excellent teamwork within that squad. Yeah, these guys are doing a fantastic job over here. And Rangers working the problem. Seder trying to pull back and exfiltrate from this low ground. This is a crazy engagement. I love to see it. And as you see, engagements in Bellum, they are not determined in a couple seconds by like some really good shots. We mentioned how this firefight, once it starts, will turn into a 30-minute problem. And these guys will have to work through the challenge on either side. And that's why there's so much planning and time that goes into that first engagement where everyone wants their pieces in place, right? Because if you don't have those proper pieces in position, you get punished for it, and you can feel it very clearly on the ground. So there's so much planning that goes in the experience. There's so much teamwork that teams have to execute. And Rangers are holding this foothold good. They need to reinforce it, in my opinion. I think now's a good time to collapse the rest of 1-3 in that tree line. 1-2 and 1-1 Seder here, engaging at range, fixing each other. Good stuff. But they also have a route into this tree line should they choose to collapse. So Rangers just need a little bit of a follow-up at this point. They've got the initiative, I think, at this point, and now it's going to turn into if they can capitalize and convert. This squad attack on the right flank is now initiating with 1-1 Alpha fixing that element in place. Excellent textbook squad attack here. We have suppressive fire going out from the Alpha fire team, and Bravo moving in on that flank here to engage with the enemy in enfilade. Like, honestly, 1-1 Rangers executing a beautiful squad attack. Let's see if they can finish. Seder is pinned down behind this rock. Oh, God. You do not want to be here. You do not want to be 1-4 Seder in this position. Good smokes going out to try to obscure their position as to the best of their ability. But it looks like 1-1's just going to work this at range, frag, and engage with direct fires until 1-4 is degraded to the point where they can assault in, not rushing the assault. Love to see it. That, yeah, this enfilade fire, devastating. Negating the cover of Seder here. 1-1 just really taking the initiative here, and this element's going to be pretty much get wiped here on this rock. So fantastic job. And that's going to open the door to Rangers to continue pushing, right? Because they now have a squad advantage on board. How do they continue? That's the question, right? How are they going to continue this fight? Are we going to see a reset? Are we going to see a break contact? There is opportunity for more forward movement in this tree line. Squad leads need to be talking to each other to address, you know, strength counts of suspected enemy contact to their front. But if we're doing a good job, we should know one squad minus, with 1-1 working that problem on their own. So fantastic job from 1-1 Rangers. I cannot state that enough. And 1-3 here, Alpha doing a great job holding a foothold up and just looking to see a little bit more follow-up. I'd love to see a little more follow-up, especially with 1-3 Bravo just kind of holding back. They haven't engaged much. You know, in their minds, they should be thinking, okay, you know, I think it's a little safe to do something, right, rather than sit around. And 1-2 working this at range, doing the best that they can to support the foothold, and they are doing so, degrading 1-1's fire, fixing that element in place. And Seder's going to start looking to kind of pull back a little bit. This squad attack looks like Alpha's choosing to assault in. Kind of late to the party here, unfortunately, but it does look like they mop up. Good assault through. And they are now confirming all those kills. An excellent conversion by 1-1. Excellent conversion. Very good job from 1-1 Rangers. Seder now on the back foot. I'd like to see them reestablish lines at this point. They should be acknowledging the fact that they are behind.
Would definitely love to see some backpedaling from Seder at this point. You know, them losing completely at this point the initiative. I would really like to see some consolidation in the back line, just making sure that we get all of our guys back in the fight and we're able to respond to this very aggressive but very methodical movement from the Ranger team. You know, having lost or having had that entire right flank crumble, essentially, we are really in a bad position to keep pushing the threat at this point, and we start seeing that break contact from the Seder side, just trying to make sure that we make as much space as possible and give us some breathing room, so we are able to, you know, reorganize and rearm ourselves and pretty much just catch breath at this point. You know, as you mentioned, I've been looking at the stream, just very excellent game from the Rangers side. You know, very, very good decision taking so far. You know, playing to their strengths at this point. You know, making sure not to overextend and not to chase too much into the enemy positions has really played into their hand and allowed them to pretty much gain total control over this fight. We are currently sitting over a 95 against 85% manpower reserve in favor of our Ranger regiment. So we do see that, you know, the engagement was totally in their favor at this point.
Yeah, Rangers pulling away with a 10% manpower disparity. Looks like there was a lone wolf Ranger out here. Was able to kill down, I should say, a couple guys, but those guys are going to get picked up. And that's just kind of, once again, we see this all the time. Some people do try to lone wolf. Yes, you'll be able to down a couple people, but like generally lone wolfing is very hard to pull off successfully because these guys will all get meta back up. There will be no lives lost on the Seder element. And the Ranger that did that will lose one of his lives. Yeah, and basically he'll stall some time here for the Seder element, but that Ranger's now down to 2 lives, maybe 1 life if he's lost it already. And that's kind of how we really destroy the lone wolf mentality or lone wolf effectiveness in Bellum. Like, yes, as you can see here, you're starting to see these medics work on these guys. There will be no actual point loss here for that element. So Seder pulling out, regrouping after that, you know, taking a punch to the face on that first fight. Rangers trying to follow up, but there's no real way to fix Seder here unless Seder does choose to turn around and fight. Seder has an exit available to them by continuing further to the top of the screen or south. We can see that that squad coming in that was assaulted by 1-1 Rangers coming in off of the rebound. And it looks like Seder's moving to regroup. So a big cat and mouse game going on right now once again, but we're moving into that transitionary period between that first fight and that second fight. And once again, it just goes to highlight how important every step, every position, every decision, every tactical choice that you make leading up to that first contact, it matters because it's going to turn into a 20, 30, 40 minute ordeal that literally shapes how the rest of the entire match plays out. Like your decisions truly do matter in Bellum. At every level, the individual rifleman all the way up to the platoon leader, how effective you are, what tactics you employ, your individual skill shapes literally the entirety of the match. So that is just something to consider. You know, working with the team obviously has a big influence on how the game mode flows out for the remainder of the time. But we can see that, you know, that those decisions that led up to that fight set the conditions for the first engagement. And now we're seeing a reset. Both squads kind of licking their wounds, getting their casualties back up, reorganizing. And once again, ammo consideration. We talked about everything mattering, right? Yeah, everything mattering. That sounds weird. But the fact that even ammo consumption, right, and how you are expending ammunition, what rate you're choosing to fire at, how accurate you are, that stuff matters because in Bellum, there is no like infinite ammo resupply aside from going all the way back to the main base. Sustaining yourself in the field and understanding how to consume ammo at the proper fire rate so that you can remain in action longer for engagements is important. And right, if you blow off the initial engagement all 3 of your RPGs and you need an RPG 30-40 minutes later, well, guess what? Your decision earlier to have used those munitions might end up biting you in the rear, because these battles are long. These guys are fighting extended engagements, and acknowledging that, hey, maybe I shouldn't be full autoing all the time. Maybe I shouldn't, right? Maybe I should be shooting individual single fire shots, right? That stuff matters. Everything you do in this game matters, and we love it. We love it. Now, there's a lot of things that you can do to sustain, right? Guys can share magazines amongst each other. I am getting reports that, unfortunately, for this build, it looks like buddy loading was bugged. That's why we were not seeing those 240s crack off as effectively as possible. So this build is very buggy. This weekend has been definitely challenging from a development standpoint. Going up from 58 to 76 players, there were, it's a pretty big jump for us. And, we're very happy with how stable the experience is, right? No real server crashes, no real widespread client crashes. But there are bugs that pop up with some of these network optimizations that we've made. And so we're addressing those. And that's why we're in alpha. You might be asking, oh, why are you guys in alpha? I want this game now. Come out. Closed beta now. Early access now so I can get in. Everyone can get in. We're still not there yet. As amazing as this experience looks from the air, as fun as people are reporting it on the ground, there are things that we need to fix. There are a lot of things that we want to do to make sure by the time the game hits closed beta, by the time the game hits early access, where many more players are hands-on, you guys have a very smooth experience. So I do want to take this moment in this lull to thank every single one of these supporters coming out this weekend, spending their time with us, identifying issues and problems, reporting bugs. Yeah, it's all super important to us. It matters a lot. It really does help, and these guys are literally spearheading the effort to make sure that when if you're holding back on purchasing, to make sure that when you finally get hands on the game, it is as smooth as it can possibly be for your experience. So we'll take a look here as these final casualties get wiped up here, looking like a 13 manpower disparity between the teams here. So once again, that's 40% more from 41 precisely more percent that Seder is allowed to lose before they lose the match themselves. And they've pulled back now to a more defensive position. We're seeing us fight over that initial gully that we talked about at the beginning of the match. Defensive positions now being taken up on the left, right, and center of the line. And it's going to come down to how aggressive Rangers want to be to continue the literally aggression and to see if they can continue to convert more wins here. Or maybe Rangers will overextend, fall into Seder's defensive line here and get countered, right? So we love the fact, Mushkol, all right, that every game you don't know what you can see here. How do you think this is going to play out here in the next couple minutes?
Oh, I mean, I think it's going to be really a coin flip at the end of the day, once again, because we just don't know how it's going to play out. But I believe just from formations and just from overall, the positions right now, I would see that Ranger Regiment is really going to have to push into the Seder positions here, just because they're not in a great spot to really repel any attacks at this point, and the rest of the elements really out of place. If they want to go for something here, they would have to push into them. But if they want to, let them push back into them, they would need to, pull back to their previous position, just because that was the best place to be for that team at the time. But Seder being, at this point set in position, it's going to be really interesting to see which team actually decides to go for the aggressive play here, and which team ends up having more information over one another in order to allow them to take the most educated decision here. We start seeing some elements break back to their previous positions from the Ranger side. So, that's happening at this point. But the rest of the the Russian team is remaining in place, and pretty much what we can see is sort of a platoon line at this point, holding that entire position as much as they're able and holding all of those lanes from concealment. So yeah, just very interested. I think we're gonna have to see which element decides to go for the aggression here. We do see, I wanna say, the rest of the Ranger element also attempt to get into a line. So maybe it would be better to see a far engagement, like a far lane engagement from one team to another here in a line, in order to punch hole on the others' defenses. But what do you think? What do you think is gonna happen here?
Yeah, I definitely think when we talk about the peaks and valleys of a Bellum match many times before, I think we're definitely ramping up now. I think a lot of time spent right there was just planning the defense for Seder, and then also Rangers redistributing ammunition, rebalancing ammunition. And we are seeing some skirmishing occurring here, some gun teams moving up into position. They are getting spotted out, and any small conversion that Seder can pick up, any casualties they can inflict, like they'll take, because they'll crawl that percentage back a little bit. So this Ranger gun team does get spotted. They are not down yet. Some of that fire coming very, very close. But for right now, I do think that we'll see a little bit of a lull here, very much so, where both teams are going to feel out where the weakness is, right? And this is where we talk about something really interesting. As boring as it might seem from our perspective, right? Because we can see all the static lines happen. People are entrenched. What's happening on the ground amongst the squads and platoon is they're kind of looking for the weakness. They're probing the weak point in the line. They're looking how to figure out this problem. And they're taking the time to do it, right? Because the last thing they want to do is just shift W into the platoon line and mass cal and swing the game one way, right? Like that is how effective the limited life system is in Bellum and how much thinking it causes players to actually take before they make any decision, right? So there's going to be a decent amount of deliberation here from either team as far as how to proceed, because after that first fight, casualties have been taken and neither team really wants to continue with those losses. So we're definitely going to see, I think, a lot of probing happen, some reconnaissance, and reconnaissance is a real thing in Bellum, where teams are looking for where enemy strength is, looking for where they're weakest, identifying terrain and routes and avenues of approach that they can utilize or will be utilized against themselves. There's actual reconnaissance that is occurring when these lines get drawn that we cannot see nor hear just because from our position in the bird's eye perspective. And the planning, right? Both teams are going to be making a decision as far as off of that reconnaissance. How are they going to proceed? We can see some shifting here with the Ranger line. 1-1 and 1-3 kind of trading positions. Not trading positions, but shifting north, I should say. It does feel like Rangers are going to want to take a north side push. I'm unsure how that's going to go because the north is much more open. But there's a pro and con to that, right? Like if we take a look here and we just erase the idea of all the players and we simply look, let me see if I can get it. If we simply look at the terrain, right? Like this is how naked some of the players on the ground feel, right? With the limited map information that they have, you can see immediately, like as soon as I do this, you're like, oh God. Right? As soon as I remove this information from you, you can see how difficult it is to actually make any kind of decision. So what players are doing right now is they're pushing the line. They're testing certain areas. They're going, okay, if we move over here, I'm taking fire from a squad roughly here. Okay, we're looking. Okay, I see a fire team out here, right? And they're trying to plot out the different positions of either element in order to inform their next decision. Because the last thing they want to do is carelessly walk in here and then, oh, full squad here. Oh, full squad here. Oh, we are getting absolutely waxed. Because once again, with that first engagement, as we saw, these are not fast firefights. The second you take casualties, you are fixed. The second you have a bad position and you're pinned down, that will turn into a long 10, 20, 30-minute engagement or problem that your team has to solve and figure out. So there's a lot of time being spent right now to paint the picture on the ground for not just the guys who are seeing it, but also, once again, that teamwork, communicating that to the rest of the line effectively. And then after that, coming up with a plan on how we execute and move forward. So while it might seem quiet and boring from our perspective from the air, I guarantee you on the ground, these players, their brains, they're working overtime. And that is a beautiful part to Bellum that really you cannot get in any other experience in milsim gaming. And it's one of our most featured experiences is that fog of war, a true fog of war that you don't really know what's going on. What another reason I turned off all these things to show you guys is that the terrain matters here, right? So if I'm looking at this, I don't have an idea of enemy positions. I might think like this is the most obvious crossing, right? And as such, teams are going to oversaturate this position in order to prevent this obvious crossing. But that information could technically be used against you. If we see a large force, then identify that, okay, they're going to oversaturate this area. We've identified them oversaturating this area. They're going to be weaker up here because there's less cover up here and it's going to be harder to cross. We shift the entire platoon. We punch through. They have wasted elements down here and we're not able to concede, or we're now able to convert and push further south. That could be an entire play that occurs, right? And then there's like additional mind games on top of it. The depth is unreal. Like if the ranger or satyr element sees that, or they anticipate that, they can play the mind game of having an additional element seated back up here and play into the trap. It's just play a counterplay, play a counterplay, play a counterplay. It's your mind, your platoon's brain and coordination against the other platoons, and that level of experience in a game where you can just hop in, no mods, no community, like no unit necessary to join, and just hit the play button, hit the join button, and have that experience. That's what we're shooting for. That's what makes Bellum unique. That is what makes Bellum super fun to play. So we're gonna turn on the nameplates again, kind of get a look at where elements are moving or what's going on here. We see some elements shift around. It does look like Rangers are shifting more bodies around to the north. Satyr might be gearing up for a crossing here with 1-1 Bravo. They might be testing the water. But it's very important at this point to really do the reconnaissance, to find the line, figure out what's going on. So we'll see what happens here, but both teams very scared to commit. And this is kind of like, this is conventional, right? If you look at how conventional battles are fought, like it takes a lot of planning to begin an offensive maneuver, right? Because you want to be sure with it. This is how like trench warfare eventually was started, right? Like the lines get drawn in conventional battles, and it becomes very costly to make the attack. So when you do make the attack, you want to be sure in your decision. So there's going to be some deliberation here. There's a lot of planning that's occurring at this time. Muskul, what are your thoughts here? What are your thoughts?
I mean, just definitely a lot of planning going on right now. You know, Satyr being on the backbone currently, definitely, you know, taking their time and making sure they are, in fact, taking the best decision they are able to. However, you know, with the positions that Ranger Regiment is currently holding, it's getting increasingly more difficult, you know, every minute for Satyr to actually punch a hole through this, unless they can, you know, correctly or successfully, I should even say, a probe into the enemy line here and try to abuse an opening as soon as they see it. But you know, with this open lanes, it's just getting more and more complicated as more time goes through for them to actually do something that ends up playing in their favor. And we see some shots coming in from Ranger Regiment, once again going back into the fact that they, you know, getting into better positions or getting into as many, you know, reactable positions as they're able to. They might end up forcing Satyr's hand into doing something else. And if Ranger Regiment can recognize the hole here in their line and pretty much punch a hole, punch through it, that will end up playing in their favor if they can have used that correctly.
Yeah, it looks like Rangers are trying to harass at range to a degree.
This is 1-7, we caught an enemy unit out in the open. A-firm, sending a gun team on the open.
Yeah, we started getting some contact reports from Ranger Regiment. I don't know if you can hear them, but I can. From 6 and 7, you know, talking to one another, sending gun teams to pretty much patch the holes that are coming up in their line, which is a very interesting comms from their perspective, right? Like they want to make sure that those guns are set on the most effective positions possible in order to allow them to, you know, sustain fire for as long as they're able to.
Yeah, and we saw earlier, like, recon by fire, right? That's a real-world technique that does have a place in Bellum. It's super cool to see that. Like, if you wanted to, right, if we go back to this instance where we cannot see anything, if we engaged with a rifle or even with a saw and opened up on different positions, you can spark the enemy into responding and thereby revealing their locations, right? So like all these tiny real world techniques, they have a place in Bellum. You can utilize them. We're seeing a lot of skirmishing happening at range, and once again, we talked about ammunition. This is why ammunition is important. One team could be trying intentionally here to run the other team out of medical supplies, out of ammunition in preparation for a larger push. So there's like a lot of different strategies, a lot of depth that's occurring even at this level, where teams are trying to attrite the other in regards to medical supplies, or maybe provoke the enemy into expending ammunition needlessly, and thus preparing an assault where they're going to be expending less ammunition, or going to be able to expend less of their more valuable ammunition. So it's going to come down to how this plays out. This kind of engagement, it's a different type of fighting. It can take quite some time, right? For either team to feel comfortable pushing, right? Because they're they're prepping the grounds, they're putting the picture together, they're moving troops in place. There's probably conducting reconnaissance by fire. They're looking with their eyes to find enemy positions. They're trying to burn the enemy out of ammunition, out of RPGs, out of GLs for that final assault. Yeah, there's so much going on here that it's just hard to really describe, despite how simple it might look from the air currently. Yeah, so both teams right now just trying to attrite each other. I think burn each other and out of ammunition. Satyr moving some elements here and there. They are taking some ground. Satyr's being very careful and cautious with movement forward on the northern side. We can see some pushing into those tree lines. But both teams just have to be careful with the ammo expenditure here. Ammo is limited. It is finite. And once again, if you run out of ammunition, like, you can rebalance the load and redistribute the load amongst your element. But if you're completely out, you have to go all the way back to main, and that could not be great.
For sure. And then we go back to what I was mentioning before, right? That this is probably going to turn into like a very long range, engagement for both teams, trying to attrite one another and run them out of ammunition as much as they're able to. With, unfortunately, the Ranger side having the advantage here because of those 240s. We're going to have to see what's in Satyr's mind at this point to really, force something out of the enemy team. We do have some far-sighted elements to the north, some fire teams from 1-2 Alpha that could be in the right position to try to, like, poke the bear a little bit on that tree line and see if we can get something out of it. Otherwise, once again, as you mentioned, this is probably going to turn into an attrition fight where we see the lanes divided into long-range engagements and see whichever team runs out of patience first in order to, like, get something out of the other.
Yeah, and we can very clearly see here as well how much conventional differs in gameplay versus the first round where it was conventional versus unconventional with I think it was Satyr versus Al-Zalaam, right? Like, seeing the difference in gameplay styles means that every time you play, depending on what factions are in motion, you will have a different experience. So seeing here now, Rangers are kind of bottled up into two main tree lines. Satyr's a little bit more spread out, but Satyr does look a little heavy on that north. I wonder if they will try to make some kind of movement up there. And this is, once again, we'll take this opportunity to kind of teach a little bit, I guess, because we have the time to as well. We do see some stuff happening, but we're going to talk about this real briefly. So if we ever try to, like, shove aside, right, one thing that we definitely want to do is make sure we have as many bodies possible. We have a large open danger area here, right? The thought that there are going to be elements that try to cross this in a conventional fight, right, with machine guns heavily utilized on either side, means that this territory is not necessarily going to be crossed, right? What you can do is utilize a single squad with fire teams spread out in good positions to cover down on this large area, thus maximizing your value out of your squad, rather than using full squads in order to do so. And if you think about that kind of numerical advantage that you get, right? If, let's just say, we as Rangers wanted to lock down a couple different positions, or even as Satyr here, right? If we wanted to lock this down as we made a push, we would probably hold these positions with, like, one squad here, one fire team here, one fire team here, oriented like so. And thus you'd free up an entire another squad to continue and reinforce the north side front, right? And that way, like, we're getting to strategic levels of troop maneuver and troop allocation that you literally don't see anywhere else, right? And so that's why it's hard, right? This is the first game of its type where a lot of these tactics, techniques, and procedures, as well as strategic and tactical level thinking that are so close to the real world, are actually possible. And like these guys just have to learn, like, once again, mixed bag of players coming from all different kinds of backgrounds, to kind of understand how the experience works, the level of possibility within the experience. And so, like, it'll take time for the player base to learn all these tools and how to execute these tasks, or how to proper allocate different troops. But it's there. The possibility is there. It is real. This is, like, a very difficult experience to play. It's a very intricate experience, but the depth available is near unlimited. So yeah, I would like to see, if we're seeing some offensive push here, this squad fold in.
We actually are from far north, 1-2 Bravo, just going for the far flank at this point. You know, taking their time with it, making sure that the other supporting elements are keeping the opposing force fixed at this time, so they're able to maneuver on them, and hopefully, I want to say, walk behind them and engage them from that direction. This could very well be a very well needed um
1-2 and 1-3 are very
shift
spread out
or
compared
like
to the rest
victory
of the element, but
from
if we
Sater's
full
side
right now,
at this
they're gonna
point. You know,
just
pretty
move
much
in,
the pressure
focus,
that they need
over.
to come back into the scoreboard here. I don't like saying a scoreboard in this regard, but you know, just getting that manpower differential, you know, close to one another, so they're able to, you know, play more freely at this point in time. You know, this might very well be the play that gets them back into that spot and allows them to play more aggressive into the enemy force. You know, if they're able to wipe out or at least engage severely this opposing force on the tree line, that could very well allow the rest of the element, you know, on the left, or sorry, I guess from your perspective, on the south, to walk on this other pocket of rangers on the flank here. So very interesting things are about to happen in the next few minutes here, and I'm very interested to see how it actually plays out from Sater's perspective.
Yeah, most definitely. I think in hindsight, right, we'll see how this plays out, but definitely there's a massive opportunity to split these elements apart, especially with this like kind of like hard to traverse terrain. I think if we're operating on the under the assumption that we want to assault the northern element, I think we definitely commit, you know, 1, 2, 3 squads to the task and have the fourth just full commit on a south side security, right? And that way you're able to address or stall or delay any kind of assault or counterattack on your flank as they counter rotate, while bringing down the full force of the rest of the platoon on an isolated ranger element. So as you mentioned, there is an opportunity here for that to happen. Sater's a little bit more spread out than I would like. I don't know if there's going to be enough numbers to really handle that. We are seeing counter maneuvering here happen now from that northern element of Rangers. It looks like they are pulling back to an extent. So very much so another game of cat and mouse, setting up the next engagement, setting up the next fight.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have the Sater element spot out that flanking ranger element immediately and call them out on the radio. So now there is that knowledge floating around that, you know, a part of one element is moving away from the current area. In by the looks of it, are probably moving forward to resupply or something of that nature at this point. I'm not too sure honestly, but we do have that being disseminated currently through the line. And with these elements in place, it's getting increasingly more easy for Sater to actually punch a hole through this side of the ranger line.
Yeah, we talked about ammo consumption before, and like Sater's picking the perfect time to strike. Rangers are pulling elements back to resupply, I believe, or maybe this is a very bold north flank. But this is the perfect time for Sater to strike. It leaves a window open, and resupply does create these little windows of opportunity. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here, but we are going to need to see some kind of follow-up, I think. But both teams, once again, still probing, still trying to figure out how they're going to work the problem. Just wanting to be very sure in their next decision.
For sure. And we start seeing some of the shift from that element, and as that happens, you know, they start getting engaged by the rest of the supporting element from the Russian side. So, you know, just an excellent job of keeping the enemy in place and keeping the enemy fixated on one single position. You know, they probably understand that the advantage of Ranger Team at this point is that superior firepower and fire advantage. So if they can draw that fire away from the current assault element that is now engaging that enemy force, then that could very well allow them to, you know, create the time and the breathing room to actually punch for an assault here. As that happens, the rest of the supporting elements that were on the rear for this entire time, I started to put down fire into that area, allowing once again this element to do some damage or put some rounds down in that enemy position. So yeah, just very well executed from Sater's side at this point in time. You know, playing the patient game and seeing if they can do as much as they're able to with the information and then the resources that's at hand for them.
Yeah, if we zoom in on this north here, they are trying to execute a platoon attack. We have the support by fire on the right side of the screen here, initiating fires to suppress. I just once again think we need a second squad to assault through here in order to get you the mass to fight this, just because like fighting forward with a fire team is just not going to be enough. I would have loved to see like a second, like a two-pronged assault here with 2 elements. And once again, talking about that one squad on flank security, you'd be pretty locked down and have that space to execute on this element. This is the best time to do it, right? As we mentioned, that element is going back to resupply. There's a window here, but like Satyr needs to make sure that we assault through properly. I don't know if they're going to have the bodies to do that. Whenever attacking, like I would always recommend platoon leaders make 2 assaults. You have the 1 support element and then a flank security that is generally like the textbook platoon attack. There's just not enough weight behind the punching fist of this maneuver, unfortunately.
Yeah, but while we say that, you know, Rangers immediately call for the break contact just because they just don't know the size of the enemy force currently assaulting them. You know, once again, just playing to the advantage of the platoon attack concept. The amount of fire coming off from, you know, from offside enemy positions really makes it so that they're just not too sure how many people are assaulting them, right? Like they're not able to focus on the current force at hand, and they're instead forced to break contact from that position and see if they can, you know, escape the ball at this point.
Yeah, Rangers definitely pulling back here, just a little overwhelmed, I think, once again by that fog of war. They don't know how big that force is attacking. Meanwhile, on the south flank, Rangers are spotting a maneuver from Satyr out here. This is a very bold maneuver without support. We are already seeing some Satyr casualties occur. You can't really make any forward movement like this without support. Once again, we talk again and again and again and again about working with the platoon. The platoon has to be all coordinated, all on the same page. If you attempt to do anything without the support, right, it will be difficult, right? And you will learn a very tough lesson that, yeah, you cannot be operating without the support of the platoon. The platoon essentially really does need to focus on a single task and execute that task well, rather than spreading yourself very far out, which unfortunately a lot of players are accustomed to because of previous experiences in other games. So right now we are seeing Rangers completely cede this tree line. They feel like they're about to be overwhelmed. They lost Fire Team Plus going back to resupply, and they're going to cede this territory. Meanwhile, they are going to convert some of these kills on the right here. So a bit of a yin-yang kind of maneuver here from either team. We're seeing some line shift around for sure. Rangers still going back resupply. But unfortunately, Satyr spread out too thin. Once again, isolate an element and work towards a single goal. The last thing we want to do is test multiple sides of the line unnecessarily. And that is unfortunately going to be a learning lesson here for Satyr. Once again, hard game to play, hard game to learn. And a lot of these players are experiencing true platoon combat for the first time. But we are seeing some ground gained, right? Satyr is taking back that northern section of the map. The question is if they've lost too many casualties on this south push that they will end up ceding this ground or having a punch-through effect from Rangers on the south here.
I do not believe they've actually lost enough to really deter them from continuing the assault. However, on the south, as you mentioned, like, more aggressive engagements now that they have the knowledge that they've displaced the other enemy force, right? And like there's an entire portion of the platoon that's out of place right now. They probably understand that they can probably, you know, start punching some more holes through the line and seeing if they can probe something out of place. So yeah, just very interesting gameplay so far, you know, seeing how one element reacts to one another being out of place and how the other element, you know, counter reacts to that. We do still have part of the Ranger element coming back from the resupplying run. So there is definitely an opportunity for the Satyr team to seize the initiative here and gain the ground that they previously lost.
Yeah, we are still seeing about a 13% manpower disparity, but Rangers on the back foot to a little degree here, pulling elements further back. They got to be careful that Satyr does not just collapse on this southern element. That is very much so a possibility here. PKM on the right side of the screen doing a ton of work. With Satyr's now pushing up with aggression, Rangers giving up a lot of ground here.
Yeah, you know, going back to what you mentioned before, we've even been fighting for so long, like a lot of these elements since the start of the game, so they probably realize we're just not able to sustain the fight any longer, right? Like if we run off ammo, we're essentially casualties on the field at that point. So yeah, just probably no other choice here than to break contact completely and see if we can just distribute as much ammo as we have throughout the line, so we don't, you know, once again turn ourselves into walking casualties at that point. And we do see Sailor plays here to pretty much gain back all that ground. We start seeing the rest of the platoon on the north just shift completely and start getting more aggressive, pushing the guys into those lines and into those straight lines. And if they play this correctly, they can very well circle down this entire you know, remaining ranger element.
Yeah,
on this bowl here.
Satyr is the ranger line for whatever reason is faltering. It could even be something so simple as a logistical issue right now on the ranger element where they've just expended too much ammunition too quickly and have to resupply. These Satyr elements are caught in a really tough spot with that high ground again, but there are more Satyr elements moving in on that. I think once we talk about ammunition, right? Because like a lot of people roll their eyes when we talk about ammunition expenditure, right? And full autoing or fire rates or proper consumption and you know, machine gun math essentially. But it's important. Like right now, what we are essentially seeing to some degree, I believe, in my opinion, is Rangers expended too much ammunition, and because of that, it created a really awkward problem for them where they had to send troops back to resupply, thus leaving the door open for Satyr to make a counter push here. Like, this is a fantastic example of how ammo consumption really does matter.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is wild. This game, I did not expect the Ranger line to fall apart so rapidly. There's now a ton of confusion amongst Rangers. A lot of them caught out of position. Satyr in good positions in tree lines, making this counter push. They are in a fantastic position. Rangers trying to cross the open, getting chewed up as they do so. And now I think Satyr successfully flipped the script. There's a couple casualties here and there on the Satyr side, but it's gonna come down to if these guys get picked up and if they can continue the aggression. Rangers trying to fight their way back into the tree line, but they already were trying to exfil as a result of like limited ammunition. I don't know how long they can sustain the fight, and this match could very much come down to who was able to manage ammunition better. This is a very once again conventional versus conventional plays vastly different than conventional versus unconventional. There's despite how simple, oh god, that guy must have ate a ton of fresh.
Keep pushing, keep pushing.
Oh god.
Right in front of us.
You can just see how lethal. Oh no, that's not how you want to push a machine gun. I think he is gonna go down eventually. Yes, he is. But yeah, once again, talking about how lethal those machine guns are. That's what makes them so suppressive, is how lethal they are. People are scared of machine guns. Machine guns are very scary weapon systems. But Satyr has pushed Rangers out of the tree line. Some skirmishing still happening over this north.
Reloading.
Are they danger close or what is it?
It was 2 minutes ago. Yeah, they were like 10 meters from me.
My game crashed.
Yeah,
I'm
the
sorry,
tempo
guys.
has definitely gone down overall. You know, the manpower reserves are getting once again a little bit closer to one another from both teams. So this has definitely been a good, you know, overall engagement for Satyr. We still have some skirmishing taking place right now, so it could always, you know, turn the tide around once again. But overall, I'm definitely liking what I'm seeing from the Satyr perspective. Definitely some breathing room for them again.
Reloading.
But you know, we still have to see how the rest of the game can play out.
Recycling.
Yeah, Rangers holding at the edge of the tree line. That machine gun, right? We talked about how, oh, some of these guys are waking up. Satyr making some more grounds on the north. It's a whole bunch of tiny skirmishes occurring right now. Satyr has a foothold in this tree line. They're moving another squad into support. They have the numbers advantage, I would believe, up here. It's like a squad plus on a Ranger squad. Very careful maneuvers here. Neither team, once again, wants to start another mass count. This gunfight is brutal on the ground. I wish I was playing right now. This looks intense.
Yeah.
Saw's doing a great job. Once again, machine guns, super scary, as they should be. Very lethal, most casualty producing weapon on the battlefield.
Yeah, we're breaking contact. Just start pulling back.
And Rangers have lost the tree line.
At this point.
Rangers are now forced out of the tree line into the field. Satyr has reclaimed, made some ground here. But they do have to be careful not to continue overextending, right? Take your gains, solidify, reorganize, and continue. Don't just try to steamroll through, because on the south specifically, Rangers are in a position ready to engage anything coming out of the tree line. So Rangers reconsolidating and doing a good job of breaking contact, trying to avoid any unnecessary losses. Got peppered from frag and went down. Rangers are pinned down here now. Here 240 on the right flank. So yeah, Rangers in a great position to counterattack anything. And we talked about overextension. I think this is a little bold here from Satyr. They might get punched in the face as a reminder that, hey, you do have to be careful with the forward momentum. See some GM94s. It's a PG7, another GM94 shot. Yeah, once again, don't want to be too overeager after winning a fight. Steady gains, steady gains, steady steps forward. Rangers doing a good job bounding back and holding the line. Satyr making an organized push to try to finish out Rangers on the top of this hill.
Loading.
Yeah, I think we're shaping up.
Oh my god, that was a good nade.
For the last big engagement of positioning alone and intent here. I think the next fight is the one that's gonna pretty much decide it all. But you know, once again, still have to see how everything is gonna play out from both perspectives here.
Yeah,
Crazy
Rangers
fights going on right now, though. That's for sure.
It's insane. Satyr making a massive organized push. A massive assault up here to take the hill.
I'm with you, medic.
And they are winning the fight. They fought all the way up here, tooth and nail. Now moving through and clearing through these Rangers. Oh, this is... I want to be on the ground here. I want to be with this fight, right? This looks like so much fun. These guys have moved up from cover to cover, rock to rock. It has been a journey for this squad from the eastern side of the map to the north, assaulting down through these tree lines. These guys have been on a mission. Satyr's got to be careful with that overextension on the south. 2 squads plus now regrouping over there. Got to be careful giving chase. I'd focus mainly on these gains over here. Oh, Swiss cheese.
Amazing engagements this last fight, dude. Holy shit.
Oh, do we hear that? We hear that. This Ranger squad is toast. We'll see if Satyr can get up here, render aid to their casualties, continue clearing through. Is this guy up? I think these are the lone 2 survivors from this northern element. Most likely going to break contact. Acknowledge that that fight is lost. Satyr continuing on the right flank to try to be aggressive. Yeah, but yeah, pushing these machine guns like this is a tall order. Oh, unless you're prone in the grass like a rat, I guess.
Yeah, they're real close. You're out of
Did this guy go down? No, he's still up.
No.
Satyr doing everything necessary
There you go.
to push the line. Rangers trying to plug the line, see additional elements moving up. Oh god, this guy's bandaging, this guy's reloading simultaneously. Oh, and we do get spotted here. So Rangers reconsolidating. They're organized around this little farm down here. We can see roughly 2 squads plus, trying to establish new lines and secure a perimeter. Satyr handedly now in control of the northern fields here. A couple Rangers in these fields. These fields are dangerous because you can't hide in them. But Satyr is going to convert a lot of these Rangers into kills, and they are going to save a lot of their casualties. I do think this is a small W for Satyr. A couple casualties lost on this suicide charge up to the farm. We'll kind of see what the numbers are in a minute here as people bleed out.
Yeah, I mean, but so far the question is gonna remain: is it enough?
Is it enough?
Is
Indeed.
it enough to push the tides back to them?
Get to practice.
There's one on the right corner.
Satyr pulling back, realizing that assault was kind of suicidal. Last couple of Satyr individuals knocked out in the field. Lines are now clear on this south front. Moving back to the north, Satyr continuing aggression, trying to push the ball forward. That PK, like grazing fire. We talked about like all the tiny techniques and procedures that are important. Like even grazing fire. Understanding how grazing fire works. Oh my god, there's a lot of dead Satyr here.
Yeah, I'm still.
Effective. Using proper techniques and procedures. Very effective, very effective. We'll see if Satyr can recover these casualties in the field. But they are now in firm control over this tree line. Unfortunately, it does look like that squad that pushed the farm was wiped. They're coming in off of main. That's going to be an issue. Some Rangers also coming in from main. So pretty even on the board, I'd say. What are you hearing on the ground?
I mean, just not much. I think right now the realization that, you know, we are in a tough spot after this long engagement. Probably not the north, but the south is definitely, you know, facing the bigger set of casualties here. And as you know, as that happens, the rest of the platoons consolidating and moving to assist as much as they're able to. You know, we're picking those casualties back in the field, and then we're shifting an entire squad to assist 1-1 at this point, seeing if they can, you know, get something out of this. Because, yeah, as you mentioned, you know, that you know, push into the open through this open fields, it just wasn't the best decision for Satyr. You know, we were doing everything so well up until that point, and then we're kind of throwing the ball around a little. But still need to see how, you know, the scoreboard is going to come out of this, and how the manpower differential is going to be like in the next few minutes here, and actually see, you know, what the next steps are for Satyr or for Ranger Regiment to ensure a victory here.
Yeah, it is very interesting. I think, unfortunately, Satyr has sustained 2 main casualties despite taking ground on this assault. I think this top hill assault really turned those numbers around in Ranger favors, or in the favor of Rangers, I should say. And at this point now, it looks like Satyr has expended a significant amount of ammunition on that push. They're trying to reorganize the line a little bit. leaving the door open once again for Rangers to kind of counter push. Ammo is the great equalizer over extended engagements, and it does look like this Satyr element is at the top of the tree line skirmishing now with an element from Rangers.
For sure. I think we're gonna see some more medium to long range skirmishes in a few minutes, unless that 1-3 Ranger element wants to get a bit aggressive and push into this area. We see, I believe that was an RPG going out, unfortunately missing the spot for the machine gun teams. But yeah, still have to see what's gonna happen here. Rangers definitely holding the upper hand overall in this engagement, unless that one Satyr element can really start putting some pressure on that 1-3 bowl that's holding up the rest of the Satyr.
Yeah, Satyr can definitely still pull through here if they can convert some massive engagements, but they have to be careful with it. They have to be very methodical with the remainder of their percent. They're down to 17% possible. There's an opportunity for something to happen here. Rangers kind of spread out. There's a squad coming in that is not yet in position. Satyr is trying to be aggressive on that northern front. But I don't know about engaging this far off and blowing your cover. It could work to their detriment, exposing their position that soon. Rangers already reacting to that fire to the north, reorganizing some elements in a position to engage, or at least hold security in this direction. And Satyr actually ended up losing, it looks like, this engagement at the top of the hill, just outgunned against two squads. And they're getting fragged out here. So Satyr just... I feel for these guys. They made a valiant push. It was a very strong push, but just too costly, I think. Rangers making a great call pulling out of the tree line. You know, they cede some ground, yes, but they fight from better positions. And like, if we look at it tactically, I do think we should highlight the call here. Like, pulling the Rangers out of the tree line while ceding that area was a fantastic decision, for the simple fact that Rangers were able to reestablish a rough line external to the tree line, and they literally baited Satyr into them, right? That's a great tactical display of, like, we're in a bad position, we're gonna pull back, reestablish here, and wait to see if they make the misstep of collapsing towards us. And they did, and they punished Satyr very heavily for it. So honestly, I do want to highlight the tactical prowess of these two elements down here, or if it was a platoon level call, to pull out of the tree line and hold security on the tree line, thus literally baiting Satyr to wave into them. And that was just a fantastic demonstration of tactics at display that really converted into meaningful impact on the map. Right here as well, fortunately Satyr caught overextended. I think we're seeing the final push here of desperation almost from Satyr to try to convert something. But Rangers are just playing very controlled, playing very well in this match here.
For sure, you know, at this point in time, you know, with this line ruptured for the Russian team, it's once again just getting increasingly difficult for Satyr to unfortunately pull anything out of this, unless, you know, we can have some aggressive plays on the rear and some aggressive plays on the left flank with 1-1. Then I just think it's just gonna be pretty hard for them to pull through on this engagement. We do have one completely fresh element coming out from main. I think it's a fire team size element. You see that over there on the back line. I think it's 1-3 from Satyr coming back into the fight. So, you know, there is still potential for them to actually get some get into some fights here and force the manpower to go down slightly for the Ranger side. So we'll have to see. You know, I really don't think anything is decided yet, but you know, we do see some tendencies here for our Rangers over Satyr. But you know, once again, anything can happen at this point in time. There is still a bit of wiggle room for Satyr to actually get something out of this. So very interested to see what this last large engagement is going to be like.
Yeah, it's not out yet. Rangers still have to burn 15% of Satyr manpower. And miracles still happen, right? It is still possible. We've seen it happen time and time again. But Satyr's just very fractured here. Rangers playing very close together, supporting each other. where needed, in the right place at the right time, making the right calls. You can kind of see here Satyr taking on individual firefights as squads at this point. We have like one kind of squad engagement here, one squad engagement here, one squad engagement here, and like a squad coming in here. You can kind of see how all the Rangers are like close enough to kind of support and move to each other, where these Satyr elements are more spread out. So it's going to come down to how well... Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the line is here for Satyr. It's tough. It is a tough spot to be in. This is all players on the board currently right here. This Satyr element that was trying a backline push, once again, in isolation without support of another element, does get chewed up. And the reason why, right, we talked about this in game 1, why we want to be in support, is because the second things go wrong for your squad, the second your squad takes a mass cal, even 1 or 2 casualties, if you don't have another squad to support you, you're kind of cooked. You need another squad to support you in Bellum. Squads cannot do anything on their own. Everything a squad does, for the most part, needs to be done in tandem or coordinated with the rest of the platoon. Because if things go wrong, if you take 2, 3 casualties, you're stuck. You're done. Because there is no rally point system in Bellum, like in other games. There's no outpost system or anything like that. A lot of the times when you take casualties, those casualties are there for duration, right? They're there until you pick them back up or they bleed out. And so that means if you can cause a couple casualties on a squad, it fixes them. And now what they have to do, that one squad has to tend to the casualties, they've maintained security, and they have to win the fight to the front that engaged them. And it's just task saturation. And if you are unable to get support from another squad, it can end up being pretty gnarly. Now, that being said,
Stay on that northern side.
Satyr pushing up and wiping out a Ranger squad here. It is not over yet. The bell has not been rung yet. Satyr still fighting tooth and nail to stay in this game on all fronts where they can.
Yeah, we really need to
we're defending at
prioritize at this
42%.
point, picking those casualties back up to avoid that last 2% from being lost. Otherwise, we are pretty screwed.
Yeah, we are in a tough spot. As you can see, Satyr dragging, trying to stabilize the casualties. Oh my god, that is a lot of fire. Satyr trying to get fire superiority here. It is literally just a 240 here. Some grenades going back. These are good nades. I think that was a good frag back. Oh,
Yeah, it
was. A lot of peppering of fragmentation going back and forth. Oh, that nade annihilated that guy. Hit by 4 or 5 fragments there. This squad leader bled out his... No, he's still up. He's still fighting. He's plugging in holes. Getting peppered by frag over and over and over again. Cannot be a fun spot to be in. This looks to be the last fight here. We're down at literally 40%. The next person that bleeds out is going to cause that end screen.
Is he close in on you? Spoon? Just got one down there.
I have to say a brilliant match though from Satyr and Rangers, despite Rangers taking the win here. So it was not easy. Satyr did not make it easy. They fought every step of the way, making counter pushes where they could. And then the timer goes out. Ranger is going to take it. It was a brilliant match to watch. We saw a lot of different aspects of that conventional and unconventional matchup. We saw that mid-game, that planning, that reconnaissance. We saw the importance of ammunition expenditure. Super cool stuff in this round. Really did enjoy watching it. Huge thanks to all the players this weekend, helping us test, find all the bugs with this latest build. Yeah. At this point, I think we're gonna do our last giveaway, Muska. What do you think?
I think so. I think we can do the last giveaway, and we can pretty much get ready to drop it in the. I think we're gonna drop it in Bellum General here.
Correct. In the Bellum general chat. So, all my people looking to get into the last giveaway of this weekend, a reminder, you need to download the launcher, which has been posted in the channels. And then you need to go to Discord, discord.gg/playbellum, as we will be dropping the key there. First come, first serve for this weekend. So you got to have fast copy-paste fingers on you. But, yeah, there's some awesome games today. Round one was tough to watch. My heart goes out to say to that. Round one was brutal. It was a brutal game. Yeah, a lot of fun this weekend. Okay, so once again, I'm gonna give you guys some time to download the launcher, set up your account, make sure you're at the put the code in screen, right? Redeem your code screen or put your key code in, whatever the case may be. And then on Discord, discord.gg/playbellum, the general chat, the Bellum chat, community Bellum chat, will be dropping the supporter key. Okay. So everyone, stand by. I'll give you guys a minute to do so. I'm gonna scroll through here on the chat and answer any questions while I wait for you guys to all get set up for this giveaway. Let's see here. Musko, any questions that pop out to you as you're reading through?
Are we gonna have gore?
No gore, unfortunately. No gore yet. In the short term, midterm, not a high priority for us. Okay, and then let me go through Twitch here. We answered most of the questions. Okay. All right, I think we're good. Yeah, we answered most of the questions here.
Yeah, there's really not much.
Different
Probably
times of
give 'em
day.
about a
There already are different times of day. Every time you play, it's randomized through daytime. There's no nighttime yet. What's our roadmap for new maps? We are going to be testing our second map come next month, February. And Reb, thanks for dropping by. I hope you guys had a good time. All right, supporter key drop happening in the community Bellum chat. That was what it'll be. Okay. All right.
All right, just let me know when you want to drop.
We're dropping in 3, 2, 1. That's dirty.
Oh.
You just trolled so many people right there. That's crazy. Anyways, thank you all for joining today's stream. If you want to find out more about the project, head over to discord.gg/playbellum or playbellum.com. My name is Ryan. I'm the creative director over here at Astardi Industries for Bellum. I'm joined with Musko, our community manager. And together, we thank you for spending your Sunday with us. Thank you to all the supporters hopping out and helping us test and get through this issue with all the builds. We are planning for the next closed alpha playtest to be the 7th of February. That should have hopefully our first look at the new map. And yeah, that's pretty much all we've got for you today. Have a good rest of your weekend. We have one more playtest session tonight.
Try and don't finish the stream real quick. I wanna
Okay, all right.
just make sure I do something here. No, it's okay. You can finish it. All right.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Let's catch y'all later. Peace out.